Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Sunday Night Live with me, Jonny Lipsham, here at jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk. And yes, we are into March 2024. So, 2 months down, 10 to go. Good grief, this year is going by so quickly, which is a strange thing because time, of course, is a constant, which means it doesn't actually go by any faster at all. It's just our perception of time that changes. But yes, anyway, I've been reading actually Professor Stephen Hawking's book on A Brief History of Time, which is a book I've had on my shelf for ages, and everyone said, hey, you should get this book, you should have it, you should read it, you should, because it's an iconic treatise on time and, the history of the universe and the cosmos and everything else. And so I decided I would actually make a start on it this weekend. And so, yeah, one of the first things I'm kind of revisiting is the fact that time is a constant. So, yeah, it's an interesting book. I recommend reading. It's maybe a little bit intellectual, maybe a little bit kind of, there are some very complex concepts that he deals with, but it's actually written well to the point where I think anybody could actually get at least something out of it. So worth reading. Has nothing to do with music whatsoever, has nothing to do with Studio One whatsoever, but it is an interesting book, and that's why I wanted to bring it to your attention, because I thought, hey, this is something that is interesting for life and everything else. And of course, if time is a constant, then the groove is also a constant. And so the other thing that I've been watching is just this afternoon, I was watching a tutorial video by the legendary funk drummer Dennis Chambers. And it was all about funk drumming. And it was all about laying down the groove and being in that pocket. And I think I realized that more than anything else, Dennis Chambers does have phenomenal chops, but the other thing he does have is the ability to play the same groove over and over and over again for 5, 6, 7 minutes, not really deviating from it and just being in that zone and being in that pocket. And so I thought, Stephen Hawking, maybe he was unlikely, but maybe he might have been thinking of Dennis Chambers playing Parliament Funkadelic's One Nation Under a Groove. Maybe that was what was going through his mind when he was writing that book, but probably not. But still, it's an interesting connection. Time and the universe being a constant, and Dennis Chambers' pocket groove for One Nation Under a Groove. Anyway, excuse me. It looks like Sean Aaron was the first one to get in the door tonight. So well done to you. Followed by Stephen Wilson, and Billy Morgan is also here. We've got Boris. We've got Mark, aka Spin 180, which is very cool. And we got Chris Mrackner over in Indiana, who is talking about how sunny it is over there. It's actually been pretty nice here too. Not this morning. This morning it was dark. There were lots of heavy clouds around and it rained for a wee bit, but this afternoon it was actually really quite nice and sunny. It's just still quite chilly here in Scotland. We got Semog Eng as well, and we got Kyle Drajuziak, and we got Ron Figura, we got Mike Johnson over in the Philippines. It will be breakfast time for him. And we got Rose Boring Alice, who says, who's your daddy? I don't think that's me. And who else do we have? We've got Rich Cresswell here, and we got the W5 family, who are also all here. And we got Danny Taylor, and we got Happy Harry Nets, who is here as well. And we got Paul Morgan. Awesome. Right, so we can make a start, because we have a really interesting question here from Semog Eng. And by the way, I also had some questions from Chris Mrackner, actually. He emailed me some really cool questions, which actually we're going to cover on Wednesday, because they are more to do with songwriting. And so I want to deal with those on Wednesday. So we will start the show with Chris's questions, and then we will progress through onto the next part of melody writing that we've been dealing with. So it's going to be good. It's going to be a good show. If songwriting is your bag, you don't want to miss Wednesday, because Chris's questions are excellent. And they are well worth digging into. So yeah, I was just checking my email because I think I just had a reply, which I did. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. So yeah, hang on, I've lost everything. There we go. So yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. But so that's what we're gonna do on Wednesday. So you don't want to miss Wednesday, because I think he had like 3 questions, and they are all kind of interrelated. So we can definitely make that a major topic of discussion, as well as talking about melody writing in even more detail. All right, let's get to Semok Enge's question. And if you have a question about Studio One and recording, mixing, mastering in Studio One and use of Studio One, then tonight is your night. That's what this show is all about. It's all about your questions on Studio One, if you have them, and maybe even to discuss ways in which you're using Studio One. Maybe you're into sound design. Maybe you're creating presets. Maybe you're doing big band arrangements or orchestral scores. Whatever you're doing, metal, folk. Whatever your bag is, then yeah, we can talk about that as it relates to how you create your music in Studio One. We can talk about that. So if you have a question, please type at Jonny Lipsham Studios to start with, because that highlights my name in red, and then I know it's a question, because you guys like to chat, and I love you guys talking to each other and getting to know each other. And the chat is usually hilarious anyway. And I enjoy kind of reading through it whilst I'm talking to you guys as well. So please do, if you have a question, type at Jonny Lipsham Studios first. Now, if you are new here and you're not subscribed to the channel, you won't be able to engage in the chat, unfortunately. It's subscriber mode only. So if you would like to get involved, if you do have a question, please do hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, select all notifications, give it 2 minutes, and the chat will be open to you, and you'll be able to get in and ask a question. And then, of course, you'll all be set for never missing this show, because you'll always get a notification. Plus, I've got a whole load of videos coming this year that I don't want anyone to miss, okay? They're going to be very, very cool. There's some exciting stuff that I have planned for content for this channel for this year. So I'm really looking forward to getting that into your hands, and I don't want anybody to miss anything. So please make sure you have that notification bell engaged and all notifications set up. All right, let's get to the question. First question tonight. For those with Linux and using the Studio One 6 professional version for Linux, the capabilities for Atmos are the same or lacks resources using headphones? Question mark. It's a very, very good question. Now, I don't have a Linux system. However, in the I think it's the knowledge base, the Presonus knowledge base, there is a section, an article actually, that talks about Linux. And I'm going to show you that article really quickly, and then I'm going to put a link in there as well. There is also a users forum thread that you can go and get involved with as well. There's lots of other Linux users there that are involved in the public beta. So you can go and get involved there, and you can ask those kind of questions there. So let's go and take a look at that. All right, so put me in the corner. So it says here, please note due to third-party licensing restrictions, the current beta expires on March 31st, 2024. We'll deploy an update shortly afterwards. So that's the most important thing that you need to know if you are on the Linux beta, that the current beta expires on March 31st. Okay, so that's only in a few weeks' time. Okay, so be aware of this. So if you're on the current Linux beta, then it will expire on that date. So don't be alarmed if the beta stops working and you lose access to it. It will expire on that date, and there will be an update shortly afterwards that you can download, and you can get back on the beta for it. I'm assuming it will be a beta update. It might actually be the release, the public release at that point. I'm not entirely sure because I have zero involvement in the Linux side of Studio One at all. So I know about as much about the Linux beta and all of that as you guys do that are on it. In fact, you guys that are on it know more than me because you are actually using it. I am not. I'm not a part of it. I have no information, unfortunately, to share with you. So it's a public beta. Please note that this is provided primarily for plugin developers and advanced Linux users. If you haven't successfully set up a Linux system, including a fully functioning jack audio server, please do so first. Studio One needs to be activated with my Presonus account and a license to run on Linux, same as on Windows and Mac OS. However, please note that Presonus does not provide any Linux-related support until further notice. So basically, if you're on the Linux beta and you have an issue, this is where you need to go to report that. Okay? You need to go to this forum thread here. Okay? Don't make a support ticket because Presonus technical support will not be able to assist you until it's a full-fledged public release. At the moment, it's not. It's still in beta. Okay? Now, here is what is currently not available. All right? This article has been updated. All right? This is new information. So this article has been updated with what's not available in the Linux version. Some of these will become available in the future, but they're not available yet. So CD burning, DDP, video support, score printing, Rex file support, international text, Thunderbolt for Presonus hardware, preamp control for your Presonus hardware, Melodyne, and third-party GUIs. Okay, so if you've got third-party plugins on your Linux platform, you may find that the GUIs just don't appear. They don't draw. Okay, so this is a thing at the moment. It's a feature that's not available. And then Linux-specific plugin formats. Okay, so some known issues. Opening a manual will throw a permission denied error when the system default web browser has been installed from a snap package. Please use the online manual instead. Graphics are distorted when using this. I don't know what this is. You guys that are on Linux will know what that is. I have no clue what that is. Plugin developers can find new APIs to make their plugin GUIs ready for Studio One Linux on here. So they need to go to this link here, which is presonus.software/en_us/developer. Okay, and then all of this is the stuff that you need to have set up before you can get involved in the beta. Okay, so there's like command lines things that you need to run here as well. To get it all set up. But once all these things are set up, then you are good to go. As for Atmos, the answer fundamentally to your question about Atmos and the binaural renderer for headphones, I am assuming it should work because it's not listed here in this list here of features that are not available. So therefore, the argument from Silence here is that it should work as expected, and if it does not, then you need to report this on this forum here. So if you are on the Linux beta, make sure that you have this bookmarked, this page 419. Okay, it's very, very important because you will find that there is other user experiences, other user information there, plus information from Tom Scheuslick, who is the guy that is overseeing all the Studio One betas, including the Linux beta. Tom is a very, very cool guy. So he's kind of overseeing all of that. Let's go back over here. I hope that answers that question. Thank you. It's a good one. We don't often talk about the Linux build here because I'm not running the Linux build. I have PC and Mac. I have a Mac over here. You can see the keyboard kind of in the corner there. But that's all I have. And that's all I'm going to have unless they ask me to do technical support or QA for the Linux build, in which case I will have to get that set up. But hopefully not, because I know nothing about Linux, literally. Danny Taylor says, just bought a new PC, i9 with 128 gigs, way overdue. Is there a best method for moving 5 years plus of plugins, templates, songs, etc. from old machine to new machine? Yes, there is. And guess what? There is another article that will help you. Certainly with the songs, it'll help you. So I'm going to go and show you that article. And I'm actually going to put both this one and the Linux article in the chat. Let's get the Linux one in the chat first. So here is the Linux article. And then there's this one, which is all to do with your songs, more than anything else. This is to do with your songs. But this would also include templates. So there are some important things to consider here. So the first thing, audio files. Make sure that all of the referenced audio files and samples are collected into the song folder. This can be accomplished by opening a song and going to the browser pool tab, right-click and select Copy External Files. Alternatively, Studio One has an option that will remind you to do this on a regular basis as you work. Options on Windows or Preferences on Mac, Locations, User Data, and then check the box to ask to copy external files when saving song. So what that does, and I recommend every one of you sets this up if you have not done so already. What does this do? Well, what this does is when you start a new song and you import some external files, for example, let's say you're mixing a song for somebody else and they send you their audio files and you bring them into Studio One. If you've got this checked, when you save the session, having just imported all of those audio files, a dialog box will pop up saying, do you want to save all of this stuff? Click yes. Click yes. Don't even think about it. Just click yes. It's a one button click thing. It's hardly going to take any time. Doesn't really, it's not going to make these muscle waste away. Okay. It'll keep them actually active because you're going to be doing some clicking. All right. So make sure you click yes. And when you do that, what happens is all of those files that you brought in from the external source will then be copied to the media file for that song's folder. See, this is how the file structure of Studio One works. Your songs are not stored inside the program. They are stored in the user data location. Okay? Inside the user data location, which in my case is a folder called songs, inside that there are individual folders for individual songs. Inside one of those folders is a bunch of other folders. There's the song file itself, and then there's a media folder. You might find there's a bounces folder. You might find there's a mixdowns folder. There's a history folder, and there may be an images folder. So there may be like a whole bunch of folders inside your songs folder. Those are all essential, extremely important reference folders for Studio One so that your song works. If you separate the .song folder from all of those other folders, then when you open that song, it won't work. You open that song and you'll get an error message saying missing files, missing files, missing everything. And you're going to have to repair that song. So don't do that. So when you are moving a whole bunch of songs from one computer to another, you got to make sure that you move the song folder. You can either do this one at a time, just move the one song folder, or you can go and basically take the root songs folder. If you take the root songs folder, then everything that is inside that folder will move with it. And all those associations between the song file and all of its reference material for each song will be preserved. I've done this several times now. I've moved from, I think in the last 11 years, I've moved through 3 computers in my use of Studio One. And I learned this the hard way the first time, which is why I wrote this article. I wrote this article ages ago, and we've just like updated it for Studio One 5, then Studio One 6. But I wrote this article a long time ago because I learned this the hard way. So make sure you copy the root songs folder to your new computer. When you do that, everything will be as it should be. And then in Studio One, let's go back over to Studio One. When you go to Studio One, and on a PC it's options, on Mac it's preferences, you go to locations, user data. Make sure that this is set to where you have put that songs folder on your new computer. In my case, it's on my D drive and it's just called songs. So if I click on this, this opens up my songs folder, and you can see that there are all sorts of things here. All right, so if I click on songs, I have another songs folder. Believe me, this happens sometimes as you go through. So let's take this one here, 80s funk, and you'll see there's no song file for this anymore. But there's a bounces folder, there's cache, there's history, and there's stems. Okay, so let's come out of that one. Let's try a different one. Let's see. And I've got loads and loads of stuff here. Let's go and find something useful. Here we go. So again, bounces, cache, history, media. In actual fact, because we're looking just at the root folder, we're not actually going to see the song file itself. Okay, but there's a bounces folder. That's empty. There's a cache folder, there's audio files, and there's image files there. But that's not the important thing. The cache is actually not important. Sometimes it's beneficial to just clear the cache. You can delete this folder. You can delete this folder. It's 2.5 megs at the moment. You can delete that folder and it will not affect your song because this is just cache data. It's not essential. The essential things here are history. This is where your autosaves are. Again, we're not going to see that because we're of the location we're in. But there's a whole bunch of files and folders in there. Okay. So let me show you a better way to see this. What I actually want to do is I actually want to open up Explorer and go to my D drive because it'll be easier to show you this way. So let's go. I'll bring this over from my other screen in just a second. Let's go back to that 80s funk folder actually, and I'll show you what this looks like. So let's close that. Let's bring this over. Here we go. This is the 80s song, 80s funk folder, and you'll see here there's an autosave. There's the song file itself, and then there's stems. There's some stems. That's from a stems export. Then there's all the history. There's the song file, the original song file, and there's all the autosaves. And then there's the bounces, because I did some bouncing between a couple of events. But that's it. If I go back down, let's find another one. I don't want to labor this point particularly. I'm just trying to find one that's actually going to demonstrate this the best. Okay, let's try news theme. Okay, news theme. This has actually got a mix down in it. So because I did a mix down to upload to SoundCloud, that's in here. And actually I made a few attempts, as you can see. Because I didn't like the first version I put up there. So I did it a few times. But yes, there's the media folder. Now, most of this was MIDI. So there's only one audio file in there. And then, of course, you've got the bounces there as well. There's nothing in it. So what you don't want to do is move this to another location. If you move this song file itself to another location, and a lot of people do this, by the way, when they're going, hey, I want to send this to somebody else to mix, they send them just this. Now, if you send just this, That's all they'll get. They won't get any of this because the song needs these files in order to make it work. Without those, you'll get missing files errors, okay? So when you are moving to a new computer, you want to grab this root songs folder, and then you can copy it if you want. So you can go back here and you can go right click and you can go copy and you can paste it to an external hard drive. Then on your new computer, you can just basically drag and drop that folder onto the hard drive that you're going to be using for your songs on your new computer. Okay? That way, you're not going to get anything missing. You're not going to get any missing files errors at all. Okay? It's really important that you do it that way. Otherwise, you can become unstuck very quickly. All right? So grab that root songs folder, copy paste it, move it onto the new hard drive on your new computer, and you'll be safe. You'll be secure. All of your stuff will copy across. Now, you asked about templates. You don't really need to necessarily move those, although you can do. You will need to locate the templates folder on your computer. Where it's going to be on your computer now is going to be different for you than it is for me. So that is something to bear in mind, is where your templates are located. And then you copy that folder and then you put it in the correct location so that Studio One is able to scan it. Okay? That's the first thing. So if you're not sure where those are, you can go to the start page and you can go new song, and then you can go to your user templates, like all of these, and I can right click and I can do show in Explorer. And this is going to show up where they are. This is an old one. I've been doing basically processing the sermons for my church for their podcast for years, since we were on Studio One 4. So that's why this appears here. So it's in that root songs folder, templates, version 4. So the fact that I have just told you, copy that root songs folder. If your templates folder is inside your songs folder, you're good to go. Okay? So if I click on this, notice that we've got a V4, a V5, and a V6 folder. Okay? So this means I'm good, because if I'm copying this to a new computer, then let's say I want a copy of all of my songs that are on my PC to be on the Mac. Then I just need to transfer this using an external hard drive. My templates are going to be there as well, because they're inside this root songs folder. So if I'm copying this root songs folder, all of this, including the templates, is going to be fine. Some sound sets will be fine. Projects, shows, macros, they're all going to be good. Any backups, although there's nothing in there at the moment. And of course, snapshots. What are snapshots? You know when you have a plugin thumbnail, that's what the snapshots are. So all of this stuff is really, really important. Anything that you've uploaded as well. I don't think there's anything in there. Oh yeah, there is a bit. Uploads to Persona Sphere and Studio One Plus, they're all there as well. All right, so, and of course, shortcuts, Studio One information. All of this stuff is in here. So I'm moving that whole thing to my new computer or to my Mac, whatever the case may be. So Danny, in your case, if you copy this, your templates, check in your songs folder, check to see if you've got a templates folder there. If you have, you don't need to worry, because you're copying the whole darn thing anyway. So when it comes to plugins, what do? Well, the one thing you don't do, and there's no hard and fast rule here, but this is what I do not recommend. I do not recommend copying the DLLs and all of that from one computer to another. And there's a good reason for that. You can end up with conflicts between licensing and authentications between one computer and another, because you're copying the DLLs and everything else. You can end up with screwed up plugins. Don't do that. Go to for third-party plugins, go to your accounts with those manufacturers and do fresh installs. If you've got lots of plugins, it's going to take a long time. So you need to set aside time for when you're going to do that. because it will take a long time. If you've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of plugins, you're going to have to go and download them and install them afresh. I recommend you do it that way. Why? Because when you open up a song that you were working on your old computer, it may open up it may open up with disabled plugins. Basically, all the plugins appear to be there, but they're all disabled. Why? Because they're seeing the old installation and not the new one. So if you copy everything over from one computer to another, DLLs and things like that for third-party plugins, that's what can happen. You can end up opening a song and all of the plugins are disabled and all the plugin settings are gone. So you don't want that to happen to you. So go and do fresh installs of all of your plugins, and then that should not happen to you. You should be able to open up an older song and the plugins should be there and they won't be disabled, because they will pick up the new installation and the new activations, and all the plugin settings should be there. So that's one of the big things to bear in mind. So that's two really big things. To recap, copy your whole root songs folder. That's the first thing to do. Second thing to do fresh installs of your plugins. Don't copy them across. Okay? Because there is more risk of failure doing it that way than if you do fresh installs. Fresh installs, pretty much no risk of failure. Because it's a fresh install. All right, so that is really important. So Danny, I hope that answers your question. Let's go back over here and let's see what the next question is from Rora's Boring. Alice says, I don't master in the project page. I will master a song at a per song basis. Is there an advantage to do so aside as construct of EP album? What would be that advantage be? It's a good question. So what is the advantage of using the project page over using just the song page to master a song? If you're working on a single song, yeah, you can do that in the song page, and there's nothing wrong with that because it's just a single song. So, but if you're working on something more than that, if you're working on an EP or you're working on an album, then the project page is the solution, and it's designed specifically for multiple songs. Yes, you can still do that in the song page. However, here's the caveat. Here's the big advantage of the project page over just using the song page. Even if you're, mastering an album in the song page, which you can do, by the way. Just bring in the stereo files for each of those songs. Done. They're in the song page. You just line them up. Here's the big advantage that the project page has over the song page for mastering. And it's this. Other than metadata, other than being able to do a DDP image, those are all big advantages. And, being able to do some other things as well, to do with duplication. The other big thing is if the song has been mixed in the song page, you can send that to the project page, and when you do that, you establish a link between that song and the project. What does this mean for you? What's the advantage here? The advantage here is that when you're working on the project and you are mastering that particular song and you go, you know what? That lead guitar is just a bit brighter than I would like it to be. Now that I'm mastering it, it's really actually started to highlight that there is too much upper mid-range in this lead guitar, and it's actually kind of a little bit piercing. If you're in the project page, what you can do is you can click on the little wrench icon next to the song in the project page, and you can open up that other song, the associated song, and you can go and adjust the EQ, save the song. And here's the cool thing. When you go back to the project page, that icon will now be red, and you can click on that and it will update the mastering file. What does that mean, update the mastering file? What that means is it replaces the old file that you were using for mastering with an updated version of that that includes the change you just made. And now you can continue. You don't have to start again. Whereas if you're using the song page to master an album and you come across exactly the same scenario where you have an overly harsh guitar sound, well, you kind of have to stop what you're doing. And you have to open that song in another session, make that change, export it again, delete the old, open your mastering session in the song page, delete the old file, drag in the new one, make sure it's in the right place. So already there's a lot of extra things you need to do if you're going to be doing mastering in the song page versus the project page. It's a several step process to replace one mastering file with another. Whereas if you're using the project page and you've got this symbiotic link between the song and the project, guess what? To update that mastering file, it's literally one click. Literally one mouse click. That's it. That's why the project page was designed. Project page was designed to have that symbiotic link between the song and the project so that you don't have to go back and do all of these extra things again. It makes the whole mastering process very, very easy, and it's very, very easy to go and make adjustments to the mix so that you can then go back to the project and carry on working with very, very little interruption whatsoever. So that symbiotic relationship between the song and the project page is a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant design feature. Now, here's the cool thing. Cool thing is that symbiotic relationship extends to the show page as well. So if you're in the show page and you're doing a show and you kind of want to replace some of the stems, it's dead easy. From the players. If you've got players that you've brought across from the song, it's just dead easy to swap those out. It's incredibly easy. So that symbiosis is a very, very important design feature of Studio One, and it is unique. There is no other DAW on the market that does that. And think about this. Studio One is 14 years old this year. It's actually nearly 15 years old this year, I should say, because it was released in 2009. So, all of those years, no other DAW manufacturer has even tried to recreate or do their own version of what we've done with the project page. Nobody. It's totally unique and brilliant, and I think everybody in the DAW production industry realizes that it's brilliant, and they couldn't possibly improve upon it, so they haven't. So that would be the answer to that, but it's a great question. Thank you for that. Let's go down through the chat and see what else we have. We got 20 minutes left, so you can keep pumping in questions into the chat, guys, because we've got plenty of time here. You guys are talking a little bit about Linux, which is cool. I'm not seeing anything else. Someone says, thank you for answering my question. Yes, you're welcome. Aurora's Boring Hours says, root files, learn the hard way too. User data per song, then at close or save it. It will ask you for import data. Yes, exactly. Let's see what else we have. Sorry, folks. I'm just kind of reading through the chat, trying to see if we have anything new and noteworthy, and I don't think we do. But yeah, those are really, really great questions. And actually, file management is a big thing. Whatever DAW you're using, whether it's Studio One or it's another DAW, file management is such an important thing to get right. And It's actually very easy to get it wrong. I've seen this actually a few times. And I'm going to tell you, I think I may have told this story before, but I'm going to tell you it again just in case you've missed it. And this happened a few years ago before I actually started working for Presonus. I was talking with a guy in the Persona Studio One Facebook group, and he was just like, every time I open up any song, I get this missing files error, and it's telling me there's like 300 or 400 missing files in each of my songs. So I responded back to him and said, can you provide a screenshot showing this? Because I had some suspicions about what might be going on here. So he did, and I said, so is this happening on every song? And he goes, yes, every single song has this exact same error message every time. He says, I've opened up 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 songs, and they are all exhibiting the same thing. They all have the same error message, and it's like 200-300 files that are missing. So I said, hey, why don't we jump on a Zoom call? And I'll give you a little bit of help and a little bit of guidance. Because I realized at that point, this is affecting every single song that he's opening. And so that made me think, all of his songs are not seeing anything in the songs folder. So that's what I wanted to confirm. So I wanted for him to share his screen, and I was going to direct him so that we could actually go into each of the song folders and see what was in it and see what was missing. We opened up the first song, and I immediately knew exactly what was going on. And basically, the songs folder, what he had done, I said, open up your songs folder, your root songs folder. So he opened up that root folder, and immediately in the Windows Explorer dialog box, there was a list of there's basically a list of folders that I'd never seen before, which he had obviously created. One of them was called Song Files. So I said, okay, just open that folder. In that folder was I don't know, maybe 50 or 60, maybe more, separated song files, the .song files, right? And I was just like, oh no. Because I realized not only what he had done, but how long it was going to take him to put it right. And that only he could do that. So, but this was kind of only the start of the problem. Because actually, if it was just these separated song files, then we could locate, because in that dialog box, there's a button there that says locate missing files. And so we could have found those missing files, and Studio One would have remade the connection between where he had put the files and where the song file itself was. So those connections could have been remade, but I knew that was not going to fundamentally fix the problem, because anytime he started a new song, he was going to have this problem. Because the problem was, he was making up his own file management system as he went along. And that was the problem. Fundamentally, that was the problem. What he was doing was, he would start a song, and then when he'd started working on the song, after he'd finished, he would quit out Studio One, and he'd open up the Explorer dialog box, and he'd put the .song file in that songs files folder, and then he'd go and put all the media all the stuff inside the media folder in some other folder. And I realized this is what he was doing, because he had this audio files folder, and that had random audio files from a whole bunch of different media folders. So he basically taken the content of all of those media folders, put them in this audio files folder, and then deleted the folder. So now he had a whole bunch of audio files that he had no idea what song they were connected to, because it was just like bass 1 to 300, cello 1 to 300, lead vocal 1 to 300, or whatever. And so he had no idea which bass part belonged with which song, because he'd totally split them all up. I could see why he had done it. I could see why he had separated everything out, was trying to make this all kind of logical. To him, it was logical. To him, it made sense. And so I said, okay, what you're doing with your file management is not how it needs to be done. That's not how Studio One works. And I then had to explain to him, I said, as far as I'm aware, that's not how any DAW does this. So it's not just a Studio One thing. Any DAW works in this way. So I say what you need to do is you need to have a song folder for every song. And in that song folder, you have the song file. You have a media folder that has all of the audio files for that song inside it. And then all the other folders, I said, you're going to have to recreate all of those and put all of those associations back together and then put all of those song files, all of the audio files back into that media folder. And he said, once you've done that for the song, then launch the song. Yes, the error message will still come up, but this time you can click on locate and you can select that folder, and that will repair the association and that song will immediately work. But you're going to have to do that for all of your songs. And he goes, I've been doing it this way for the last 10 years. And my heart sank. I was just like, you've got 10 years worth of songs that you have created your own file management system for, which is not by design. And you've been having this missing files error for all of those years. And you've never thought to ask for some help with this. He goes, yeah. And my heart went out to him, because what he was doing to him was logical, but it doesn't work like that. And so it was a mess. And then I think about 6 months later, he reached out to me via direct message, and he said, I can't thank you enough. He said, I can't thank you enough because you saved my butt. He said, I was working on an album for a high-profile client, and I was applying the same, file management system as I had been doing for my own personal songs, and I had actually started messing up his songs. And that's why he said, that's why I posted on Facebook, because I was in a panic. And he said, you saved my butt. And I got his songs working first. And he said, I'm going to spend the next 18 months to 2 years going through all of my back catalogue of songs and fixing them all. But he was really, really thankful that I got that fixed for him. But during that Zoom session, I showed him how it should work and what he needs to do to make it work going forward. I said, the file management is built into Studio One. Don't do anything that it doesn't already do. The song folder has the song file, and it has the audio file folder, the media folder rather, and it has those other folders. They are meant to be inside that song folder. That is by design, to keep everything all connected. So don't separate things out. Just leave them as they are. And going forward, you'll never get any missing files errors. And he doesn't get missing files errors anymore. So therein is the lesson, I think. An important lesson to learn, but he had to learn it the very, very hard way, unfortunately. John Hawk is here. Awesome. Good to see you, John. Welcome. Glad you're here. Aurora Boring Hallow said, lol, that's what I used to do, had set up audio files to keep them logical. Yes. It's true. It doesn't work like that, and it will never work like that. Mike Johnson says, one thing I liked about Cakewalk/Sonar was bundled files. Everything included into a single file. Reason also had that feature. Yes. But, I mean, everything is contained in one folder. in Studio One. So essentially, it's the same thing. Bundled files, I guess, would be all of the audio stuff, all the audio files. They are bundled in Studio One as well. They're just bundled into a folder inside a folder. I don't see that that's necessarily a different thing. Chris Maragna says, what about copying the mixdowns to the desktop for playing in other media players? You can absolutely do that. The mixdown files are just mixdowns. Okay? They are, in that sense, they don't have that same association. So, I mean, this is how, like I said, with that news theme, I uploaded that to SoundCloud. So when you've done the mixdown, yes, it does create a mixdowns folder, and that's just for your convenience. But yes, you can copy that, put that on your desktop, upload that to SoundCloud if you want. But a copy is retained inside the songs folder to keep everything kind of organized and connected, so that you have, the news theme song folder has everything to do with the news theme song inside it, including mixdowns that I've done that I then upload to a different media player or to SoundCloud or TuneCore or whatever. So in that sense, they are separate. They're stereo files, but they don't have a connection with the song. That's purely just for convenience. So when you put up that mixdown onto SoundCloud, it's not going to be referencing the Studio One song. Okay, it's a separate entity, all of its own. So in that sense, it doesn't matter where you put those. For example, the song that I have open here, the Modal Blues song, which I use for my theme tune. If I go Studio One, if I go to song rather, and if I go export mixdown, I can put this anywhere. Now at the moment, it is by default going to put it in Modal Blues mixdown. Now I can just say yes, please do that, and then what I'll do is I'll copy the file and I'll upload it to SoundCloud. But you don't have to do that. You can use the publishing tool, and you can upload to SoundCloud directly from here. But if you're not doing that, if you're just wanting to use Windows Media Player or some other media player, then yeah, you can put it anywhere you like. To be really honest, you can just put it anywhere you want, and you can set it between start and end marker. 128 is not going to sound very good, but 320 will sound just fine. Sample rate 48 is fine, and depending upon where you're putting it, you can adjust the loudness. So let's say we were going to upload it to SoundCloud. We could select SoundCloud, and it'll adjust the loudness so that the max true peak is -1, and the max loudness is -14 LUFS. Done. And stereo format, although we could do split mono if we wanted to, or we could monoize this if we wanted to. So we could set that to, if I set that to mono, then you'd get a mono mix down. But stereo is what we want for what we would want for this, and then we just click OK, and it does an MP3 mix. And if I've got this set to publish in SoundCloud, then it will open up the SoundCloud client inside of Studio One, and you can do everything directly from inside Studio One. You don't even need to go and open up your account on SoundCloud. You can have it connected so that basically it will do all of that for you. But if you're just wanting to put it on your desktop so that you can play it in Windows Media Player, put it on your desktop. Just click that and go, I want to put this on my desktop. Thank you very much, and select the folder. Done. And then you can call that new Modal Blues or whatever, and then it will go on the desktop. But that is a good question, nonetheless. Let's see what else we've got. Oh, you guys are talking about Sonar and Cakewalk bundle files. Yeah, I know nothing about those. I know literally nothing about those because I've never used Sonar or Cakewalk or whatever it's called these days. But I hope that helps. Let's see, do we have any other questions? I don't think we do. So if you are using the Linux build, go follow that link for the Linux forum thread. There's lots of really, really good stuff there, and all the people that are who are testing on Linux at the moment, they are all there, and they will be putting up issues that they see, and the developers will be scouring that and feeding that back through to development and to QA and stuff to get those issues resolved. So yes, so that is still ongoing, but as I said, it runs out on March 31st. That's when this current beta expires. And there will be an update that will follow after that, probably in the first few days of April. So stay tuned, watch out for it. If you submitted your email address, which I think is what you had to do to sign up for the Linux beta, then you may well get an email address. An email sent to you from Persona Software, who will say, hey, there's a new beta available for Linux. Or, hey, it's going to public release now. Whatever they tell you. I don't know, because I have nothing to do with the Linux beta whatsoever. All right, let's go back down the chat and see if we have anything there. We don't, so I'm going to call it here. Thank you very much, everybody, for your great questions. There was some really good stuff on file management there, and some good questions on Linux as well. I hope you have found all of that beneficial and helpful. If you have, please do hit that like button. I would very much like to see a nice parity, which we don't have at the moment. We've got like 20 people here and only 17 likes. So let's have a bit of a like rally for the last 30 seconds of the show. If you have not hit the like button, please do so. It helps me out a lot. If you are new here and you've not subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button, and also select all notifications as well, so that you get notified of when the next show is. The next show, by the way, on this channel is on Wednesday for Songwriting Simplified, where we will be starting off the show with Chris's questions. They are very cool. We will get to those, and then we will continue talking about melody, because I've got some things I want to show you about writing counter melodies. So not just main melody, because we've kind of done a little bit on main melody writing. How about, you know, that ear candy, the counter melodies and things like that. So that's what we're going to do. So we've done kind of call and response as part of melody writing. So now we're going to kind of go into more than one melody at the same time, which, by the way, the human ear can handle with no problem. So counter melody writing will be on Wednesday, as will Chris's questions. If that interests you or excites you, then please stick around. 6 p.m. Central on Wednesday should be a blast. Looking forward to it. And of course, I will be taking your songwriting, composing, and arranging questions then. So I will see you on Wednesday for that show. And otherwise, have a good start to your week. Have a great one. See you then. Good night, everybody. Yeah, for those asking, there is the New Orleans Studio One meetup, which is happening right now. Get over there. Good night.